Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Clarkdale Town Council meeting on April 25th, 2023 at 3 p.m. I would like to take roll call. Vice Mayor Hunsetter.
Here.
Councilmember Babbitt Pierce.
Present.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Present.
And note that Mayor Prudhomme Bauer is here. We have a quorum. Thank you. As we get started, as I've been doing regularly, is I'd like to read the Town of Clarkdale's vision. The Town of Clarkdale connects our unique history, proximity to the Verde River, and small town charm to a future with a vibrant economy. We cultivate an environment where residents, businesses can thrive, providing services and jobs for our residents and capitalizing upon tourism. We substantially enhance our infrastructure, support the arts and education, and develop recreational opportunities to create a bright future for our entire community. Okay, first item up is public comment. This is time for members of the public may give comment of a general nature. No official action may be taken by the council during this time, unless it is to direct staff to look into a matter. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Is there anybody in the audience or online who would like to make a public comment? All these people and nobody's doing public comment? That's okay. Seeing no one coming forward, let's move on. Next item is reports. We had several departmental reports that were submitted part of the council packet. Building permit report, magistrate court report, water and wastewater report, police department report, report from Cottonwood Area Transit, Verde Valley Humane Society, and a special event liquor license recommendation. Are there any comments on the reports that were submitted? Hearing none, let's move on to our one item on consent today. That item is minutes, I believe, of the council meeting?
Parks
Parks and Recreation.
That's not the consent agenda.
Oh, consent agenda, excuse me.
Oh.
Consent agenda, yeah, it was
Yeah,
approval
you're right.
of our minutes of the council.
I believe you skipped item 5.
Item 5, oh, yes, I did. Item 5 was board and commission minutes. They were also submitted in our council packet, and that was for Parks and Recreation minutes of acknowledging receipt of them from their February meeting. Consent agenda, we have one item on consent. That's the approval of the minutes of the council meeting of April 11th, 2023. Is there any changes or anybody have any comments on that agenda item? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve consent.
Madam Mayor, sorry. I move that we approve the minutes of the Common Council held on April 11th, 2023.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Jones and seconded by Councilmember Babbitt Pierce to approve consent agenda item A as presented. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, item 7 is new business. We 7A proclamation on being Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Let me read the proclamation and then I'll have Tracy. I saw you back there, Tracy. McConnell come forward. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has public health implications for every community member of the town of Clarkdale. And whereas the town of Clarkdale shares a critical concern for the victims of sexual violence and a desire to support the needs for justice and healing. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our community, as seen by statistics indicating that 1 in 2 women, 1 in 4 men, and 1 in 2 transgender individuals have experienced contact sexual violence in their lifetime. And whereas we must work together to educate our community about what can be done and prevent sexual assault and how to support survivors. And whereas staff and volunteers of anti-violence programs at the Verde Valley Sanctuary encourage every person to speak out when witnessing acts of violence, however small, and support victims of sexual violence. And whereas leadership, education, and encouragement, there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual violence in the town of Clarkdale through prevention, education, increased awareness, and holding perpetrators who commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And whereas the town of Clarkdale strongly supports the efforts of national, state, and local partners and of every citizen to actively engage in public and private efforts, including conversations about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with services, and how every segment of society can work together to better address sexual violence. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Robin Prudhomme Bauer, Mayor of the town of Clarkdale, Arizona, on behalf of the town council, join anti-sexual violence advocates and support service programs in the belief that all community members must be a part of the solution to end sexual violence. Along with the United States government and the state of Arizona, I hereby proclaim April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Tracy McConnell, Verde Valley Sanctuary, come forward, please. Come on, up, friend, and then I'll let you say.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Just state your name and where you're from.
My name is Tracy McConnell, and I'm with the Verde Valley Sanctuary. We serve all of Verde Valley and Sedona. We also work nationwide. Greetings, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and fellow citizens. Thank you for supporting this proclamation. This is a clear declaration to join hands across Clarkdale area to prevent sexual violence and support survivors. Sexual assault at its core is a devastating abuse of power, one that affects people of every age, sex, race, gender, identity, sexual orientation, national origin, socioeconomic background, and religion. It is critical for each of us to stand up and acknowledge this issue, to improve the laws and services available to survivors, and to change the culture and attitudes that allow this violence to proliferate. The sanctuary is offering meet and greet workshops at 3 local libraries called Heightening Sexual Assault Awareness Month, where sanctuary staff will facilitate a learning opportunity to better understand sexual violence and how to support yourself and others. We held one on April 13th at Cottonwood Public Library, April 19th, Camp Verde Community Library, and we have one upcoming April 27th at the Sedona Public Library. If you have experienced sexual violence at any point in your life or know someone who has, you are not alone. There is support and safety waiting for you, and you can reach Verde Valley Sanctuary's crisis helpline at 928-634-2511, and you can remain anonymous when you call. For more information about the workshops, please see the flyers I've provided to each of you, as well as available in the lobby. Thank you very much, Charity. Appreciate the time, and thank you very much for the proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you for
so
coming.
much, Tracy. And with that, I'll take a motion to approve the proclamation.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the proclamation for Sexual Awareness Month.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Vice Mayor Hunsetter and seconded by Councilmember Babbitt Pierce to approve a proclamation declaring April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tracy, for your comments. Always good to see you.
Oh, thanks.
Let's move on to item 7B, Magistrate Court Update. Judge Catherine Kelly, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Pleasure to be here with you. Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure to have you.
I took 30, 40 pages of notes, so we'd have some things to discuss over the next hour or so. No, I don't think we'll be doing that, but I will give you, you get the monthly memos. So you kind of get a lot of the meat of what's happening and the why things happen in courts. And so we'll take just a slightly bigger view of things today. I used to believe very firmly in the maxim that the days are long, but the years are short. I got a new maxim. It's the days are short and the years are short. And I think I really thought of that in relationship to Clarkdale joining Cottonwood down in Cottonwood. I mean, we just proceed at an even pace through every day. And your clerk that joined us down there gets along beautifully. And the whole thing has just gelled and come together. It's just really nice to see. And for those of you who've had the opportunity to come down, hopefully that's what you felt too. Because a part of that is something the public feels too. Now, they know whether or not staff is all arguing with each other or whether, the pieces fit. I think they're seeing that they do. And yeah, so been a marvelous year. Thank you. Thank you for letting me represent you.
Thank you.
I really appreciated it. We did have Tanya, who's the clerk who was in Clarkdale. She got to attend civil traffic hearing officer school last fall. And it's quite a title because at the end of it, technically, after a week of training, you should be able to be a judge of civil traffic offenses. And I got to tell you, as a judge, when I went to it, I thought, I don't know if I would learn everything I needed to know here to do a traffic trial, but I sure did learn a lot of functional detail. And so I'm a huge training proponent. I believe people should keep learning. And so Tanya was very reticent to go. She's a shy person. She certainly did not want to be a civil traffic hearing officer. But I haven't met a clerk yet that did want to be one. But by the time she came back, she knew so much more about how all the laws fit together, how they all fit together in the computer system. So the service she is able to provide to the citizens that come in is amazing.
Good.
And so that worked out beautifully, really beautifully. And she has just blossomed. I mean, she's just so much a team member. It's wonderful. Her biggest change this year, I don't know whether you folks had a lot of involvement or not. I know you will know what I'm talking about in a couple of seconds, was we changed prosecutors. We'd had an old time, a prosecutor had been there for years. He was not old. That COVID just convinced him that life was too short to spend it sitting behind a desk. And his wife could afford it and they wanted to travel. More power to him. But the prosecutor he was replaced by was not a good fit. And it was a philosophical difference between, I don't want to say who was more important, but let's phrase it that way. The citizen who's coming into court is afraid, knows nothing, probably would like nothing better than to get out of there as quickly as possible. And the prosecutor who is there to simply proceed with his own agenda. And you met our new prosecutor. He's fabulous. Once again, perfect fit. He tells me he likes being one of the girls. And it works really well. He's marvelous. He has that balance of, justice and mercy. Yeah, victim and the defendant,
Right.
as somebody who really did something wrong. And say mental health issues. We have plenty of those around.
Yeah.
And so he's a perfect fit. Some remarkable points this year that I'll share with you were our financial audit, which is done every 3 years. No events, no nothing. And I think that might be the first year in a while that we've had no problems with the financial audits. Let's see, we have, when we hired a position in Cottonwood that had been vacant for quite a while, we made that person a part of our backup staff for Clarkdale. That's perfect. So now Tanya's there the 3 days, and between Lynn and the backup clerk, no matter when a Clarkdale person comes in, they can get serviced. So it's like having a 5-day court when it's only a 3-day court. So that works out beautifully. And the other thing that was an innovation for Clarkdale was having a credit card machine. That is how people want to pay. You know, we still have the few that understand cash is still available to use in our society. But other than that, people don't want to write checks or money orders. They just want to call in with a debit card or a credit card. And that's good. You know, if they can pay it off, more power to them. If they can't, well, at least they don't have a criminal court hounding them. And that's huge. So those are kind of some of the more remarkable things that happened that we did and changed this year. Now I'll talk to you just for a moment about actual statistics. Now you get the monthly blow by blow. So here's how it looks from January 22 to, let's say, December 31st of 2022. 64 criminal cases here, 224 civil traffic violations, and revenue of $44,528. And so that sounds pretty reasonable to me. And across the state since 2020, case filings have been down in the misdemeanor world. And so those are fine statistics, good. And just to give you an idea where you stand in the whole state, there are 82 municipal courts. Now remember, JP isn't a municipal court, it's a county level court. So there are 82 of these courts. You guys are number 76 out of 82 as far as case filings, number of case filings. So if you want to represent yourself as one of the safest cities in Arizona, you pretty much have it. I mean, that's good. That's really good. I'm sorry, I misstated that. You're number 56. Dewey Humboldt is 76. So your actual case totals were 474. Theirs were 119. And so, sorry about confusing that. Now Jerome up the road is number 50. They had about 800 cases last year. And Cottonwood, just to compare, is number 32. We had about 2,400 cases. So here's the test question for all of you. What city in Yavapai County had the most cases filed last year? I mean, there's really only two logical choices.
Camp Verde?
Prescott Valley.
Prescott Valley.
Prescott Valley, Prescott Valley, by about 1,000 cases. And so they have the most, I don't know, the chief might know the actual numbers. I think they might have more police officers per capita than any other city anywhere near us. And so,
Shaking his head, yes.
yeah, exactly. That explains the numbers to a great degree. But I thought that was interesting that they are number one. And let's see, I'd like to know if there's anything you'd like to ask me, or there's any information you say, well, if she only told us that on a monthly basis, I could go to sleep every night very, very safely. Anything?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd just like to tell you how much I appreciate your monthly reports. They're very clear, they're educational. It certainly has broadened my understanding of what the courts do. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. And I think y'all understand that I'm not, just some of those things are tongue in cheek. I'd rather have you have a smile on your face, even if you're reading hard information, than feel like it's the end of the world on whatever it is. And so, thank you, appreciate that.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I would just encourage anyone who has not had the opportunity to go visit the court, because it is very much what you have described to us, but seeing it in action, seeing the prosecutor describe things to victims, describe them to defendants. The way that you describe things as the judge, you explain the situation in a way that's not like we see on TV. And so it's a lot less scary, I think. You guys do a really good job of making sure that it's an accessible place and that we're taking care of our community members. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And it is, yeah, I don't walk around courtrooms. I don't want to tell you when I graduated law school. But for many, many days and years, and it's nothing to me. But I understand just from, watching my own children go and do a traffic citation or something, it is nerve-wracking. And if we can lessen it, because everybody in our court is your neighbors.
Yes.
These are not the headliners. These are not the felons. These are average people who did something the law considers wrong. And to punish them by making the understanding of what's going on over their head, it doesn't make any sense to me. None whatsoever. So thank you. I appreciate your comment. And it is wonderful because the prosecutor does in fact allow anybody who comes by to get to watch his negotiations with the plaintiff, or I'm sorry, with the defendant, his negotiations with the victim, if that's necessary. So that's a part of it most people never get to see. And so you won't be bored, I don't think.
Not at all.
Yeah, and if you are bored, you say, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. But pretty much that's what I prepared for you. And I don't want to bore you to death. I think you've got the highlights every month. And do feel free to shoot me back a question. I'm more than happy to answer.
Any other questions for Catherine?
No, just thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I think this past year has been one of the easiest moments, the easiest time in all of us understanding how the magistrate court fits into our system, which for before that, it was sort of like, well, we know we are responsible for it, but we weren't always understanding of its place within the town of Clarkdale. The partnership with City of Cottonwood has been a great example of using resources wisely and correctly. And I think we have found out it's been a huge benefit for us and for the residents who have to end up there. And I always love your monthly report to us, because she teaches us, as she's been doing today, she teaches us about what's going on in the system, changes, complications that gives to your life a little bit at times, but it's been wonderful because we've learned a lot about our magistrate court that we never knew before. So I have appreciated you and the whole agreement to work, to be a part in collaboration with the City of Cottonwood. So
Thank you. And that made me think that, all of your ears are closer to the ground than any judge's ear ever is. And so if you start hearing something, or you even get, a tinge of a complaint from somebody, let me know. Because I remember once, and I think we've gone through this in the monthly memos. I had a council member once come and see me because he had a constituent who was really upset with the court fines. And it was light bulb went off for me. He had no idea, the council member, what goes into a fine. Now you do.
yeah, we do.
And it's not Clarkdale getting rich or Cottonwood getting rich. Yeah, I believe it's, I want to say over 50% of the funds collected from courts in general go to the state.
Right.
And the actual cities get 24%. And all of the other things in between are mandated.
Yeah.
Most of them I cannot get rid of. And so really indeed, if you hear something like that, there's probably a great explanation for what it is.
And it teaches us when we hear something like that, or reminds us that we need to talk, to explain it and so people understand what it's about. But court finds that was quite an eye-opening discussion.
Yes, it's not over yet.
It's not over yet. Yeah, I'm sure next month. But I appreciate and thank you so much, Judge Kelly, to come and give us your report and with such delight always.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good day, y'all.
Thank you. Okay, item 7C, Bicycle Advisory Committee. I believe we have Jen Mayberry. Jen, there she is, with the Yavapai County Community Health Services that is giving a presentation on this topic.
Yes, we
And a
are.
room full of
Yes.
bicyclists,
Isn't that
right? It's marvelous to
fun?
see.
Good, I have another Greg standing with me today, but thank you, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. I'm Jen Mabry, and I am, pardon me, a Community Health Education Coordinator with Yavapai County Community Health. And I have the great pleasure of also serving as the, I guess, chair or main support system and staff for our Bicycle Advisory Committee, which many of you are here today, and that's super cool. So I appreciate it. With me, standing with me is Greg Miranda, who you probably know, but if you don't, Greg and I work closely together. He owns and operates Verde Valley Bicycle Company, just in Old Town. So we do a ton of work together, and it's really nice to have him up here with me. So thank you guys for that. Oh, good, it's up. You guys are ahead of the game. And I love being in a small town because I was able to make an egg delivery to Council Member Jones there. So that's important.
And we want to know we're jealous.
Well, I'll bring more next time. How about that? Okay. All right. Well, anyway, let's get started. We want to be, reason for being here is we want to introduce you and kind of reintroduce to some of you to the BAC. Is maybe your first time even hearing that we exist. So this is really exciting to share. We've been around for quite some time, and I'm not sure if I have it right here. This is it, right? Okay, thank you. So let me lead you down a path. We want to share a little history about BAC, some primary goals that we are working on currently. We are here because we have a Clarkdale goal. You're actively on in our world, and how we get there eventually. So that's what we would like to do today for you all. So some history with the BAC. We were formed in around 2002 with the Cottonwood General Plan, or you might have heard also the Riverfront Trails Plan. And so that's when the BAC came into existence. And we've done quite a few things along the way. As you can see, installation of share the road signs in 2007. In 2009, our bike plan was adopted in Cottonwood, and ADOT selected Cottonwood for safe routes to school. 2012, we were bronze level. We're currently silver level in Cottonwood, which is really exciting, and maintaining that and seeking gold. We've had funds approved for the BAC through Cottonwood. We had our first bike map, official map printed, which we'll get to you. And in 2018, we also had a road diet along Main Street that was eventually adopted. And I believe the last time we may have been here years ago, we were suggested to Clarkdale Council, the speed decrease, the 45 to 35 mile, yes, over there on the street that we will be talking about today. So there's a lot of stuff that has been going on in the BAC. And what's really cool today, we have a very much renewed energy within the BAC. Leadership was really hit hard, members hard, obviously through COVID times and all of that. So BAC kind of fizzled and and went away. And many of us here, and Greg and I talk about this all the time, we were like, what has happened? We need this. We're all very passionate people and working towards safe passage for cyclists and pedestrians. So we got back together, and we have a new flow with what's happening. We had a realization that we need to be more broad than just Cottonwood. And we wanted to be more of a regionalized and multi-agency venue, a committee. And so what was neat is my boss, Heather, I always give her crazy ideas, and she says, what are we doing now? I said, well, here's what I want to do. The BAC and I were talking and said, we really want to take this to the next level. I said, I know how we can do it. So we had a meeting with the city, Mayor Tim and Rudy, and said, this is what we want to do. Our department at Yavapai County Community Health can do a whole lot more for the committee if we assume a leadership role in it, because I'm able to work more in our funding and grants that include committees like this in our SNAP education grants and Happy Grants. Happy Grants, my favorite, because it's just fun to say the Happy Grant. So it was really cool. And they were very much in support of this transfer to our leadership, but we still work very closely together. We have also so many more partners with the Verde Valley Cyclist Coalition, the Owls, entities that we are expanding all over too. So we're all doing the same thing. We just want to bring it together for everybody. So that's kind of what's happening right now, to give you a little bit more on our stronger alliances. So let me show you some fun stuff. This is a great collage here. And this is some stuff that's happening right here in your neighborhood, which you can see, I'm sure you can recognize. These are the types of things that we're doing. We are doing bike to school days. We've done several here, and I'm inviting you right now to that day. We have one scheduled for Clarkdale School, May 19th, which is super fun. We have PD involved, fire, all of us will be there, and it's just going to be great. We have mountain bike clubs at most every single school right now. Greg and I are both coaches, and we're excited. We have your mountain bike club right here in the audience today from Clarkdale School. So this is a really excellent learning opportunity for our youth to see how things get done and meet you all. And I coach over at Dr. Daniel Bright School. Our department, we were able to put in 8 different bicycle repair stations. I hope that you have seen yours at the Clarkdale School. Yours was the first one we put in, and it was on a bike to school day, which was really exciting. So they're all over from Camp Verde, Sedona, all over. And that was just a wonderful thing through one of our grants that we were able to do. We have Bike with the Mayor rides. That is happening with the Cottonwood Mayor. Please come. I have all those flyers in that pamphlet I gave you. On May 20th, bike rodeos at different schools where the goal is to get kids on bikes and teach safety and skills. We have one planned May 18th over at Oak Creek School, at Cornville School. And that's just going to be nothing but fun because on top of that, we are also so unique. The Verde Valley is so unique, as you all know anyway, but in the bike world, we have 2 state-of-the-art bike tracks, pump tracks, if you will. And you said, yeah, you're nodding, so that's good. You know about it. And they're amazing. So one is at Oak Creek School, one's at MVP, and we have a 3rd one right now with tons of funds being raised by several entities, and Trek Foundation. Trek is giving us money for the Daniel Bright School, which is my school that I coach at for the next one. So we're super excited with more in the works and planned. So everything listed here, all this cool stuff that you get to see examples of, takes tons of partnerships, everyone involved, a lot of people in this room that we work with on a day-to-day business, including you all. So some primary goals that the BAC is working on and making great progress. We have some installation of rumble strips, and if you're not sure what those are, they're like a wake you up when you're coming into a roundabout. Strips laid down, and we got those installed over at the Mingus and Willard and Cottonwood. So that was a nice little W for us. We had been waiting a while on that. We just had an amazing meeting with so many different people, but with the director of ADOT, Miss Jennifer Toth, on this second item here, the Cottonwood 89A to Highway 260. There are no bike lanes there, and they're doing a resurface, and we were able to send letters, communicate, and now we're going to have lanes extended there, which is super important because it is not a safe passage and we have so many riders going through there. The Groseta Ranch Road connectors, with that construction, that is happening as well. Kind of a twofer. There's a trail that goes alongside that will remain a dirt trail, but the community is responsible for, and they will be putting in a 10-foot wide two-way path, multi-use path, so that folks can safely, pedestrians, cyclists can get from one side to the other, creating more access ultimately to come here in the Cottonwood area. We are working on select reroutes for safety, Rails to Trails programs that Joni and I talked about quite a bit. So more to come on that. So a lot of exciting things are happening in our culture that really exists here already, which brings us to our Clarkdale goal. You are on our minds, and that's in a good way. We love this. So our active goal right now is what we were talking about a little bit earlier on the roadway. There's this passage, and in your pamphlets on the second page, there's a better map, and I'll pull it up here. But right coming out of Old Town, Cottonwood, there's a 0.7 of a mile piece of road that comes into Clarkdale, and right up the Peace Garden, I believe it's Peace Garden Road or Lane right there, is where there are 0 bike lanes there, and it opens back up to a beautiful lane and a sidewalk that has occurred. And we really feel that that is a super dangerous zone. Let me give you a little better look here, so you know exactly where we're talking about. We monitor so many folks coming through there. It's 0 protection for cyclists and pedestrians. And people are very much at risk. And part of the reason I have Greg up here too is he has, I'd like for him to say one thing on some of that risk on a kind of a personal story with some youth that you know that use that lane, if you don't mind, Greg. Then I'll jump back in.
Hello, I forgot what I was supposed to say.
Yeah, of course, I'll just introduce yourself.
Hello, Madam Mayor. and members of the council. Thank you for this opportunity. This concept kind of came about when there's a shop friend and shop customer. Her daughter travels from Clarkdale to Cottonwood, and I'd see her. We're remodeling a house up here, so I drive up here every day for the last year. And I'd see her every morning waiting for traffic. She'd ride her bike on the opposite side of the road, wait there at the, I think it's Peace Garden right up here. She'd wait there and for traffic to clear up, and then dart across the street and then make her way back all the way down here. And it doesn't get safe until right about here.
Right.
And I reached out to her, our customer, the mom, and I asked if I could bring this whole topic up, and she said, absolutely. She has crashed there a couple times. So and being a shop owner at Verde Valley, when people come to town, they ask where to ride, and we try to send them around, depending on their riding experience, we try to send them around or back into the Tuesday Goot area. This area is just way too dangerous for us to feel comfortable sending our customers on that road. And the other thing is, like the Clarkdale kids, this is part of our mountain bike team up here at Clarkdale Jerome. And growing up as a kid, that was our first taste of freedom. So if we can help get kids to go to Clarkdale to Beans, let's say, then we've kind of made a step in the right direction. And then with the owls and the old cranes here as well, giving all road cyclists a little bit safer of an avenue. So that's kind of our mission here. I'm not sure I said everything I wanted to say.
You did fine.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. And like Greg said, I mean, we riders love to come into this community. We love it because it offers so much great stuff. We have Smelter Town and the parks and all these wonderful things that riders love to come do and experience. I was speaking with, I was trying to find out some details on that road. And I did find out that the road right of way is a good 200-foot right of way, which is great. It does thin out just a little bit at Gary Heights and Bent River, but not by much. So there is very much access there for the future if, you know, plans were created and all that stuff to make it happen. So how do we get there? We get there by what we're doing right now. You know, the community, us, I get to be this voice for VAC and share to you what is needed in the community. We know absolutely that Clarkdale, you all care so much about the community because we do too. We love it. We love being here. We love riding here, playing here. We also know that, you know, you're currently working on your community master trails plan, you know, and we ask that this maybe be a part of those positive changes to include in that plan. And in any way, how I can help on a county level too, I'd be happy to help in any way. There is so much that's happening right now that I'd love to share that makes perfect sense with this safe passage. I have the pleasure also to sit on the Verde Front Community Engagement and Wellness Committee. I love being active with the front. And I also sit along with a few others in here on the Circle Trail subcommittee. I'm sure you've heard about the Circle Trail, which is just going to be amazing. 90 miles of trail encompassing cities and towns. And we are actively right now in that subcommittee working on Clarkdale connections, connectors off that main trail to drive people through Clarkdale and experience what's happening here. So adding this little addition is just such a safe and sensible thing to do to continue the good work that's already being done. And bike events are, you know, we think Clarkdale is great for bike events, and we're dreaming stuff up right now, you know, between Greg and our crazy meetings that we have. So, which are many, but it takes all of us, right? That's why all those images are there. So truly, you know, when we talk about what are our next steps, you know, we really do look to you and we look for the champions in helping us with this to create those safe passages, because the culture is here. The cycling culture exists, and it exists in such a big way. Those few pictures that I showed you, that's just that much of what's going on around here. It's amazing. So you all are, we look to you for the next steps and what we need to do at this point to assist in any way. And that is really what all I have to say. And I leave it in your good hands, maybe to ask questions or communicate back to me what can be done going forward at this point.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Jen, thank you for your presentation. I sit on the Verde Valley Planning Transportation Organization. Okay, so there is a group.
Attending, yes.
Oh,
Mhm,
okay.
mhm.
So maybe that answers my question, because there's a group, the Bicyclist Coalition, that is a part of those meetings.
Yes.
So what is the connection between them and this
So
organization?
as I understand in the last meeting, which it was, man, the VBTPO, I'm getting so good at acronyms. It was fantastic to sit on that meeting. I learned so much. Two groups in particular, SIMPO, let me just say it correctly, SIMPO Central. Heather, what is it again?
Metropolitan.
Yeah,
Planning.
Central Yavapai Metropolitan, there it is. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
And NACOG, they are two entities that are doing a lot of bicycle planning work. SIMPO is primarily on the Prescott side right now, but they have expressed extending to the Verde, which we are encouraging because they do excellent surveys. And they have a survey out right now, which I will happily share with you all later. And we've all participated in it because you can pinpoint exactly where these problems are. And I put a pin right where we were talking about. And NACOG, they're doing wonderful things for us too in that world, surveying Yapa County's public works and roadways. They're doing a study on Cornwall Road right now. So there's a lot of different things happening. And that's, hopefully I answered that okay. It's just a lot, or,
So my question is, there was an organization that was attending those meetings.
Oh.
Is that your organization? Is that a
Okay.
separate organization?
got it. So when I found out about the transportation, forgive me for not understanding. I saw that there hadn't been a bicycle comment in a long time. And I believe it might have been the BAC along the way. And so when we came back into the scene, we said, okay, the voice is here again. So I'm pretty sure that it was the BAC back then, and I'd have to verify it, but we are back and the voice is there. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that this is not a separate organization, or at least at this point in time, they're not two separate
Right,
organizations.
right.
It is y'all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you alluded to the Verde Front. So you're part of Verde Front.
Yes.
Is this organization part of Verde Front? or is
No,
that-
they're totally separate. We have talked, we've had, conversations behind doors like, hey, should we be a subgroup of the Verde Front? But we don't think that that's where we need to be right now, because I am there and others in this are there. We're separate, but we bring that any work back to BAC and a voice to the front. So it is two separate entities, but all doing things together, I guess. Yeah. So
Thank you.
you bet. My pleasure.
Yes.
Hi, Jen.
Yeah.
Along the same lines, I serve on the NACOG board, so
Oh, awesome.
what's the interchange there?
I'm so new to it, so I might have to ask Heather Klomp-Parents, who's in the audience, to help me answer that. If you are okay with that, me calling on her.
Yes,
She is my
yes,
section
she's welcome
manager.
to come on.
If that's okay, Heather, thanks.
Hi, Heather. Oh, I get to see her in
Yes.
person. I think I saw her in Verde Front last week.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Heather Klomp-Parents, community.
Give me your
Services.
name.
Okay. So your question was in regard to NACOG.
Mhm.
Yes.
At this time, there is no connection. I would say 5 years ago, we were working closely with them, but that's a relationship that will need to be rebuilt.
Okay, because I haven't heard any discussion about bicycle.
Not yet.
Right.
Okay.
So that's
Right, and NACOG, of course, has so many arms and legs that.
Yes. I was blown away by a lot of the discussion at the transportation planning organization by them. So it was great.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So just so that everyone is clear, the survey that Jen mentioned that NACOG is doing was sent out in our weekly update a couple, maybe
Yep.
2 months ago.
Okay,
So
good.
we're all on the
Mhm.
same page.
Oh, good.
Right,
we
That's a great
absolutely are.
survey.
Yeah, it
So,
was.
any recommendations for this group that we can stay active on this plan for the future?
Well, I had a couple of thoughts. First of all, of course, with our master trails plan that's going forward, that's an excellent place. And also, I think, and I'd like our town manager to speak about what is coming for that section of road, because I think you will see that change. That's an easy ask that you're making.
I love
Tell that.
On the same page.
Because that's our phase 2
Okay.
of Broadway. We
Okay.
completed phase 1, so you can get up to Peace Path to the top of the hill, and then you go, oh, this is not good on the downside. So, Susan.
So, yeah, that is Broadway Road Phase 2. Right now, it's in our capital improvement plan to begin the design of that road, and we have hired the engineers to do that. So we're right in the middle of that planning. The improvements are going to be funded by a HERF exchange that is budgeted for this next fiscal year, and will be part of the CIP that you all see tomorrow for the first time. So, yeah, certainly, this is perfect timing to
Excellent.
encompass this change into the road. And I think it's been on our radar already, but
Right.
just this kind of solidifies it, and we can, of coordinate with you all with any input that you might have. for
That is great news. On your timing, does that look quite a ways out for phase 2 or?
No, actually, the design, we've already met with the engineers to start that with a goal to be done between July and September, to be done with design. And then at that point is when we file our paperwork with ADOT to begin the paperwork for the HERF exchange. That'll probably happen in early spring of next year, late winter, early spring. And that's when we would start construction. So it's actually part of it will be this next fiscal year.
Serendipitous.
Yes.
That's
perfect.
wonderful.
Yes, it
That's
is.
great. Yeah, I like that. That's okay. That's a good W. I just had a little whisper in my ear before I go. I know there's a couple of youth that wouldn't mind speaking to you, and I know they did,
Absolutely.
if that's all right with you.
Absolutely. I was going to have you introduce who's
Okay.
here and they could come up
Thank
to
you,
the
Mayor.
microphone.
Okay, and whoever that is, please come on up and.
And just tell
Introduce
us,
yourself.
your name.
From Jaden. And. Come on up. Thank you, Mayor.
Whoever's gonna see.
Come on.
Yeah, they can meet you.
All of you can come up together. You know, numbers
For
count.
safety in numbers.
And just give us your name.
My name's Kyra Cook. Myself, I think this would be really beneficial and I enjoy mountain biking and I think that would just make everything so much easier and safer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Come on up.
Hey, hello, my name is Landon Shires and I personally bike a lot on, I believe that one road was Broadway going down into Old Town. I have noticed that that is a very unsafe road that is very dangerous for walking on or
Oh, yeah.
biking on, and people go very fast on that and it is very challenging to stay safe. So yes, I personally would really appreciate this bike lane on that road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
My name is Savannah Abril and I love biking, and I think that this trail will be good for a bunch of people in the community, because if people in Clarkdale want to go to Cottonwood and see the views.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think it's on this.
Well-
Tommy.
Tommy, do you want to say?
I have that shirt.
Okay. It's great. To me, I'm just so grateful for the kids coming to see how things happen. That's a very positive thing. Thank you, and
And you're welcome.
continue some communication. Oh, you're coming back? Okay.
There we go. Just tell us your name.
My name is Ella Brawley and I love bike riding, and I love trails, and I'm sure that other people that bike ride will love this new trail too.
Right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all again, and look forward
Thank
to
you.
communicating together and
Certainly.
anything we can do on the county end of things.
Yes, I think
Okay.
as if the engineer has any questions, we'll be in touch with
Fine.
you about that
Yes.
design.
Okay,
As well as I know Joni will be working with you on our Trails Master Plan.
looking forward
And
to it.
thank you for bringing everybody here, and especially the kids, because it's great to hear how important this is to them. So
Well,
I very
You're
much.
welcome, and we appreciate you allowing us to do that.
Thank you
So-
for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Job. Yes, go ahead, very quick.
Late getting in, I'm sorry.
Your name,
Didn't
your-
get my name is Dan Blattler. I
Okay.
live in the village of Oak Creek, and I'm the president of the Verde Valley Cyclist Coalition that was
Welcome.
mentioned. And part of we are a 300 member strong nonprofit, obviously located, situated in the Verde Valley. And our mission includes providing safe access for all types of cyclists, road cyclists, people who commute to work, as well as mountain biking, and all three of those, of course, are here in the Verde Valley. With three types of cyclists. And the reality is that in the state of Arizona, unfortunately, there's about 2,000 cycling related accidents a year.
Wow.
And we have over 30 fatalities a year, cyclists fatalities a year. not a pleasant thing, but whenever we can in our mission, support any initiatives that are going to make cycling safer for all types of cyclists certainly is important. I came here today to encourage the town of Clarkdale to support and to engage and to initiate this 3/4 mile safety corridor with bike lanes. It sounds like that's already happening. So I guess all I want to do is thank the town of Clarkdale for being open to those types of activities and initiatives that are going to support safe cycling of all types. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, you can. Your name, please.
My name's Mark Devereaux, actually live in Clarkdale. And I cycle a lot. I think my first cycling race was 1976.
Oh, my.
So I'm not a pro, I'm not an amateur, and I just wanted to, probably speaking to the choir, but to reiterate just how dangerous that little section of road is. And we're talking about grand scale things here, but there's two really small things that Clarkdale could do right now to make that a lot safer. Southbound along Broadway, entering into the cut, there's a large pothole on the right that moves bicyclists into the left lane or into the middle of the lane. Routes everybody in there. Repairing a pothole would be a wonderful thing. Cutting back the brush along the sides of the road would be a wonderful small thing that the town of Clarkdale could pull off with very little help. Probably don't even need an engineer and make life a lot safer for all of us.
And I think I see those two comments being written down by our town manager.
I really appreciate that. And I mean, I'm willing to go cut brush. I cut brush actually by Centerville Road the other day, because when you come down Centerville Road and you look to your left, you cannot see oncoming traffic.
Thank you.
It's hidden.
What's your phone number? No, I'm just.
Shell knows it. Anyway,
Okay.
See,
thanks for the time.
okay, thank you so much. With that, thank you all for coming. The bicycle group, it's wonderful. And we look forward, if there's any situation that you see that you have a suggestion of how it could be done differently, please communicate with us about that. And we will work to the best that we can to get, to remedy that. So absolutely, and participate in our trails program, because that's going, our trails master plan, that's very important. So thank you all for coming. And why don't we move on to our next agenda? And some of you might want to listen to this also. It's item 7D is our ASU project cities community survey results. And welcome. Oh, we have been waiting for this. So just introduce yourself and to all of us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia Colbert. I'm the program manager of the ASU Project Cities program. Thank you, Mayor and Council and Town Manager, for having us here today, as well as the star of the show, Janelle, who's a graduate student at ASU, who's been hard at work on this project for 2 semesters now. So I wanted to give just a very brief introduction to Project Cities for members of the council that may not be as familiar, as well as any members of the public that were here. And then I will step out of the way and let Janelle have most of the presentation, though the bicyclists are very hard to follow. Project Cities is a program at Arizona State University that's part of the Global Futures Laboratory, and it was started in 2017 as an effort to connect all of the research, resources, and innovation of the university with communities around the state in which this university is situated. We're also part of the EPIC network, which is a big international network of 70 other universities following this model all around the world. So Clarkdale is part of a big cohort of communities globally doing this type of work. The program, the way that we facilitate that connections is we work with communities like Clarkdale. You propose various projects that you have opportunities for or challenges with, and then we match them with faculty at ASU teaching courses, and the students get to facilitate the projects through their coursework. So it's really this win-win-win relationship. And we've been working with Clarkdale since 2019, which is pretty crazy. It's been 4 or 5 years at this point. And I've had numerous successful projects from the downtown revitalization plans to I think our recent community handbook, our employee handbook, as well as the arts incubator last semester. So happy to another time share more about it if anyone has questions. So for this semester, we actually had 3 projects that we worked on with the town of Clarkdale. First is Janelle's. I'm going to briefly share about each of the projects. Janelle will be the only one presenting today, but for members of the council, we'll have recorded videos for the other presentations you can watch later, as well as a summary reports that will be delivered after several months. So I'll skim over this one, community survey, figuring out what the residents of the town of Clarkdale are passionate about, focused on, and how that might align with your strategic plan. And then I want to shout out to Kelly Larson, who's the faculty member that has been mentoring Janelle for a year on this project. She's on the call as well. I won't pick on her to talk, but she's here for support.
Hi, Kelly.
She's here. And then second was doing a housing analysis for the Bitter Creek Industrial Park. I know the council's been eager for kind of action to be taken on that. So a class within also the planning department at ASU worked on examining different strategies for how to implement different types of housing in the BCIP, as well as resources for policy and zoning. So I'm very excited to see that presentation. I know the students are submitting it today, actually. And then the last one is one of the EPICS classes, so the first year engineering students classes. They're dipping their toes into engineering and structure. So these students are determining different road layout options for the kind of bridge to the road to get into the industrial park. So if that bridge is ever built, it'll be able to have kind of find ways to get 18-wheelers in or stuff like that.
When that bridge will.
Yeah, I got funded.
built.
Yes, good. When it's built, yeah, what that road might look like. So yeah, thank you to the faculty that have helped this semester. And with that, I will pass it over to Janelle.
I can figure out this clicker. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. My name is Janelle Seifert, and I am a master's student at ASU. I'm finishing up my last year in urban and environmental planning. So just to kind of preempt this, I did a presentation last semester that went through the methodology of the survey. This is really just looking at a broad sweep of the results. You will be getting a larger report with more of the details, but this will just give you kind of the larger patterns that we noticed. So a quick overview of today's agenda. First, we're going to discuss the goals of the survey as we originally designed it. Then we'll look at the citywide analysis. So we ask questions just about Clarkdale as a whole, and then we'll zoom in and look at specific Clarkdale neighborhoods and how people are feeling about amenities in those neighborhoods. Then we'll get on to recommendations, and then finally, I'll open the floor to you guys to ask any questions and we can have a bit of a discussion. So the survey goals were threefold. The first was really to assess Clarkdale's satisfaction with services, events, and amenities. And then the second was to identify interests in the near and longer term. So we wanted to see how Clarkdale residents, how important some of these services and amenities and goals were for Clarkdale residents in the 2 to 5 year range. And then finally, we wanted to see how that compared to the to your guys' planning goals as outlined in your strategic plan. So a lot of the wording from the survey is lifted from that most recent strategic plan. So just a brief overview about this survey. We had 316 respondents. It was open for nearly a month, and the majority of the respondents were online. We only had 2 people actually fill out the survey in person, but it was an option for people in case they didn't have any internet access. Just to go over a brief demographics of the sample, we didn't really go into a huge amount of sociodemographics. We just looked at what we felt was necessary for the purposes of this survey. So first, most respondents were between their 40s and 70s. This survey was only open to people 18 plus. And it was pretty split between people who have lived in Clarkdale in the short term and people who have lived in Clarkdale for a very long time. So 0 to 5 years, there was 93 respondents, and then 11 plus years was 95 respondents, which I thought was really
very
incredible to see.
interesting.
Yeah. And then one of the things we mentioned is we wanted to see how respondents or how residents are currently getting information. So right now, Small Talk newsletter is running the game. There are a lot of people that responded that they're currently using Small Talk newsletter, and then the Facebook website and Clarkdale update were pretty much tied for second. Instagram and Twitter were lower, but especially with engaging with younger populations, it's still worth keeping them up. And then here's communication preferences. So before we were looking at what they were using, now we're looking at what they actually prefer. As you can see, most residents still prefer using emails. So that Small Talk update is going to be a really invaluable resource for you guys moving forward. Interestingly, in person was a very big option. So, you know, it's obviously there's options for people to go in person. Just continue doing that and maybe offer more opportunities in the future if possible. Yeah. Clarkdale overall. So this is the first question of the survey. It really opens it up and lets people really think about how they view Clarkdale overall, how they view their life in Clarkdale overall, their level of satisfaction. So it ranges from very satisfied to very dissatisfied. And as you can see, this paints a very rosy view of Clarkdale. The vast majority of people are some level of satisfied with their life in Clarkdale, with only a little bit over 5 expressing some level of dissatisfaction with life here. And we will get into specific reasons why that may be in the upcoming slides. So services and amenities, this is a broad screenshot. There were a lot of services and amenities that we looked at. This was again on the scale from 1 to 7, very dissatisfied to very satisfied. So the highest ranked service was police services, and people were on average satisfied with police services in Clarkdale. The lowest ranked service was tourism marketing. People were only slightly satisfied with tourism marketing. And that is mainly because it was a bit of a contentious issue. And it's a bit polarizing, and I'll talk about that a little bit further along in the presentation. The highest ranked amenity was the number of parks. People were satisfied with that. And the lowest was bike paths, so very pertinent to the conversation. I was like, oh, I can actually weave this in. And people were pretty neutral about that, so that may be due to some safety concerns that were brought up. Now, this question was just referencing services, and it asked residents to rank the top 3 services that they thought were most important. So it really kind of forced their hand to pick out of all of the services we mentioned, which ones were of the most vital importance for you guys to focus on in the upcoming 2 to 5 years. As you can see, police services ranked as the highest, which is interesting because people were also very satisfied with it. So it seems like it's important, but just keep doing what you're doing. Not really many complaints there. I also wanted to highlight streets and roadways. That was not the lowest ranked service, but it was on the lower end, and people find it very important. And I'll discuss it a bit further along in the survey, in the presentation. Now going on to events, people had pretty, static views of the events. There wasn't much variation in how much they liked or disliked and were satisfied with them. But something that I wanted to know was that when we gave them an option to actually write in their opinions or later on, some people did mention a couple of events, and they were Christmas in Clarkdale and Halloween in Clarkdale. They were mentioned for 2 very different reasons, actually, basically opposite reasons. The first reason was Christmas in Clarkdale. Residents wished that there was more going on. They wanted more events. They felt like it could be improved in that sense. And then the opposite was true for Halloween, with the word chaotic.
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe I will. Maybe this year I'll go check it out, see firsthand. But overall, people were still overall satisfied with all of the events. It seemed like there was a pretty vocal number of people that had strong opinions about it, though.
Oh, yeah.
So here is similar to the services where we had respondents pick 3 goal areas that they wanted the town to focus on in the upcoming 2 to 5 years. And I've put a star on some of them that I think are important to talk about. So the first is conserving water. This got mentioned quite a lot throughout the written response section. People were very concerned about the water conservation plan for the town. Second was roads, which, as I noted earlier, was also ranked fairly highly in the services section. So it keeps coming up again and again as an important issue for people living in the town of Clarkdale. Now, affordable housing and tourism, they were both contentious issues. They were very polarizing. So there were some people that were really gung-ho about it and some people that really weren't. And so I will kind of go through a couple of excerpts from the written responses so I can give you a bit of a idea of why that might be the case. So for affordable housing, a lot of people were saying it is a top priority and they think that we should really focus on it. Interestingly enough, there were a lot of people that had very strong opinions against affordable housing, but something that I noticed was that a lot of people cited water conservation as a reason why they didn't want affordable housing, because they were concerned about the growth of the town. Now for tourism, again, a lot of people felt that it was very necessary for the growth of the town. But other people said that we needed to focus on business first, and only once we gained more business in the downtown core, then could we expand the tourism marketing. Now here's a neighborhood analysis across the 6 neighborhoods that we analyzed. And as you can see, Lower Clarkdale and Crossroads area were the lowest rated, although it's not quite as cut and dry because we looked across amenities, and so there are a few other neighborhoods that I'd like to note that I think would be important to focus on in the future. Foothills and Upper Clarkdale, people were the most satisfied with those in this question. So these are the 2 lowest neighborhoods in the overall question, asking whether people were satisfied in their neighborhood. So Lower Clarkdale had the lowest mean in the quality of parks and recreational programming, and was also in the lower half of neighborhoods for a few other categories like bike paths. I'm looking at you guys. And then Crossroads, interestingly enough, it wasn't the lowest in any category, and it was only in the lower half for a couple categories, local businesses and number of youth activities. So I think a little bit of further investigation is needed to see why, when broken down further, people were satisfied, but in aggregate, they were less satisfied in Crossroads. Now, I also think it's important to look at Mountain Gate and Foothills area based on the breakdown across amenities. So Mountain Gate had the lowest mean in a lot of different categories: youth activities, public art, trails, bike paths. And then the Foothills area is another neighborhood that it's not as in dire need as Mountain Gate, but it was in the lower half for another host of issues, or amenities, recreational programming, public art, quality of parks, number of parks, and bike paths. And it was also the lowest mean in historic preservation. And I think some of you have the exact graph, so if you want to look through them specifically, feel free to, and I can answer any questions about those as well. So recommendations, let's start at the neighborhood level because we just went over that. So trails and bike paths, I think, are a really important place to start because they would take a bit less funding. They're a little easier to get going on, and there's a lot of energy behind them. And so I think that you should focus your attention on trails and bike paths in Mountain Gate, Foothills, and Lower Clarkdale. Then I think it would be interesting to talk to the Foothills community about historic preservation and why exactly they're not very satisfied with it. Are there any particular buildings that they are particularly concerned about being destroyed? That may be important information to know going forward. Finally, I think park programming overall for all of the neighborhoods of focus would be important. There were a few neighborhoods or a couple neighborhoods that mentioned, quality of parks and number of parks, but I think even just adding park programming may help people utilize the existing parks more so than, having to spend as much money up front. So you can try first to to get people engaged in the existing infrastructure. Townwide, I think that there should be a master plan, especially for water conservation and security, that is very well discussed in public. Because people are not really aware about it. It's really a pinch point for people to feel comfortable with the town growing. And so until people feel comfortable with that, there may still be opposition to growth projects. There was also especially in the qualitative section in the written response, a lot of people brought up that they wish that there was more businesses in the downtown core and that they would be, you know, willing to use tax incentive structures in order to make that happen. A lot of people specifically mentioned grocery stores. Sprouts was mentioned a lot. And then finally, road repair and maintenance, that was widely mentioned in really many parts of the survey. People wanted it to be maintained more and certain areas to be redone. And then participation. I mean, I'm a little biased, but I think that you guys should continue to put out this survey on a frequent basis. You know, depending on what your availability is, it could be really useful to see how opinions are changing over time. So you could really track whether your changes are making a difference in how people are feeling about the town and the amenities and services. And then also another point is that we wanted to go into this and gain participation by the Yavapai Apache Nation, but unfortunately we didn't receive any responses from people that lived on tribal land. This is going to be a bit of a difficult process because it may take some trust building over time in order to have them involved in the process. I go into that more into detail in the report, but I think it's really important to note that working with an organization like Arizona State University, you're going to be subject to more rules and regulations regarding interacting with the Native communities, that if you're not working with ASU, you may be able to just open up a dialogue with them without all the red tape. And questions and discussion.
Lisa, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Could you tell me whether the completed report will have all the comments that people wrote in it?
Yeah, so as of now, I have an appendix that has all of the information, and we can discuss exactly how to get that information to you, but it'll either be linked or set in a separate document. I have them all set up in Excel spreadsheets for you guys to look at, but then just looking through it, I've summarized the patterns that I found.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I noticed that not every neighborhood was represented that we had listed on the survey. So does that mean people in those neighborhoods did not complete the survey?
No, so what happened was that there were some neighborhoods that were smaller and then they got congregated into a nearby or adjacent neighborhood. And so in the report, it will be detailed that what neighborhoods were combined to make that larger area. Because in statistics, you usually want to have about 30 respondents before you can really say anything meaningful about the averages and
Thank you.
statistics.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know how our respondents, the number of respondents compared to like when you do this in other communities, on average, how many people or what percentage of people participate?
It's interesting because some surveys you can actually, send out a specific, you'll send the survey out to a specific list of people and then you can actually get a response rate percentage. But this one was more, it was more loose because it was on the social media, there was signs, it was sent out in the small talk update. And so this one, I can't say exactly what the response rate was, but I will say that we were aiming for 200 to 300 respondents, and we ended up a little bit above that. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see that, and that bodes well for the amount of participation in the community.
Yeah, I think it's about 7%, close to 7% return sort of our populations. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's also like
That's what I-
18 plus,
yeah,
so then,
yeah.
yeah, it's a little
That's-
complicated to get the exact, but.
Julia, come up to the mic if you could, please.
Thank you, Julia Colbert. Whenever we do communities like similar, not quite to the community satisfaction level, we'll do surveys like this and maybe the city of Peoria, which is one of our partners for a while. We'll send it out to mailers across the city and we'll get the same number of responses. So I was really pleased and excited that we had around the 300 level mark for a smaller community like Clarkdale, since I think proportionally, I don't know, sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe like 50 people are answer. So I think it really goes to show how engaged the community is in the town, and that it was only open for about a month and we opted to not do any. This was in the previous semester's presentation, but we decided not to do survey incentives. So a lot of the times you'll include like a raffle for something, but we didn't seem like we needed to do that for this type of process. So I'm very pleased with the response rate for this. I think overall it was very well received.
And I'm used to like 3 to 5%. We're thrilled.
Yeah.
On community surveys, so and we were very happy with
Yeah,
those.
about 7%, so.
Yeah, and she could do the appropriate statistics, which is always good. That's.
Thank you. Just one quick question. You mentioned the preferred method for communication, and it was email. Is that in direct relationship to the town manager's report that goes out in email every week and reached in other channels as well? Or are they looking for a specific targeted email?
Yeah, so there was 2 questions. One was just kind of asking broadly across different platforms, so email, Instagram, Facebook, cell phone. And then the second one asked specifically how people were currently getting getting their information from Clarkdale, and then that one specified, or small talk update and the Clarkdale update. And yeah, so both, but the email, yeah, the small talk would be.
The small talk's typically mailed out,
Oh,
not.
wait, sorry, I'm mixing it up. Okay,
Yeah.
inverting them. The Clarkdale update is the
Yeah.
email, yes. So then.
Yeah,
they
because
were-
small talk goes to every household.
That has.
That's on the water
Yeah.
system, thank you.
But the
I don't,
Clarkdale update is just
but-
whoever's registered or whose email, ever
Correct.
emails with me gets put on the list. So
Right.
Fair warning.
Well, and small talk's also posted on our website as well, so people can go retrieve it. It's just not
Right.
the same.
And it has been
Right.
posted on Facebook as well lately.
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
so it gets out in a number of different ways. even
We
if
do
we
that
don't get
for
it.
all the Clarkdale update and the small talk. We put them, Shell, I sound like I have a mouse in my pocket. Shell puts them on the website, and then we put both on the social media sites as well. So they're kind of same distribution methods, but small talk gets much more direct contact.
Right,
Okay.
correct.
I just want to say this has been a great piece of work. I think it's really going to help us to deep dive and figure out really our way forward. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and you can look forward to the larger report. I'm just editing it up now, but pretty hefty document. Light reading.
Boiled it down.
No,
Great to work with you.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
so much.
yeah.
Thank you so
Good
much.
job.
This has been fabulous. Water we knew, water security we knew we felt was important as we've talked about it. And it's really great to see it come to the top with those who participated in the survey. So I think we have some plans to do it, some of what you've talked about, go very public and talk about our water resources here. So that was really nice to see. I think things we knew and were reiterated were roads and road maintenance. That's been with the town for an awful long time. I like that the responses seem to be very well across the community, which was really nice. So it wasn't just representative of what like the older part of town, but all of the communities. And that was, I thought that split was pretty consistent across the board. So that was really nice. So that gives us some really good base information. So I think those are the things I took away from your brief presentation, and I have very much appreciated you taking on this project for us. This has
Thank you
been
so
terrific.
much.
And I think we'll get a lot of good comments from it, yes.
You know, I was gonna reflect on what you were saying. I feel like it really is reflective of the conversations we've been having
Yeah.
for a while. And so I think that makes me feel like, okay, we are actually paying attention to what folks are saying and we're hearing what people are saying, and then to see it come down and be able to say to people, we're hearing it from everything from the sprouts to the road. And I think that addresses where, you know,
Yeah.
on that side of town where there aren't really any, you know, supermarkets or services, and I think people, I live here in Upper Parkdale, I'm used to going to Cottonwood. If I moved into a new neighborhood, I might be like, wait, where's the amenities that are supposed to be near me? So I think this is really just very good.
So,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything else you would like to share with us?
Ooh, well, you're gonna have to wait for the report.
And then we'll have a lot to talk about,
Yeah.
but I appreciate this and I appreciate the partnership so much with ASU Project Cities. It has been fabulous. And we're working on the bridge funding. We're just this close, Julia. Tell the legislature to get on with the budget and we'll, okay. That's what we need. But we appreciate so much your presentation and all the work you've done. So thank you for sharing this with us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with you all as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8 is future agenda items. We have the report before us of what's coming up. I know tomorrow we've got budget meetings all day, or however long it is until we get budget brain fog or whatever. And then our next meeting is in May, and if we have to, we'll have another budget session in May before that. So anything else that we need to add to the agenda? Hearing none, then with your permission, let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting at, give me a time,
4:27.
at 4:27 PM. Thank you all very much for coming today.
That's so great.
I closed my computer, didn't want to, thank you all.